story of the Sabca S.47 does not begin in Belgium, but in Italy. And it starts with one man, one of the most famous Italian aircraft designers of all time, Giovanni Caproni. Giovanni Battista Caproni is known in history as one of the most influential aircraft designers of all time. His designs varied from some of the most revolutionary to the most imaginatively daring. One example of the latter being the enormous Caproni Ca.60 Noviplano. Looking to expand the production capacity of his company, in 1937, he made a marketing agreement with one of the biggest aircraft building companies in Belgium, Sabca. Sabca, which stands for Société Anonyme Belge de Construction Aeronautique, had a reputation of building foreign-designed aircraft under license, constructing aircraft for companies such as Fokker, Savoia Marchetti, Koolhoven, Breguet, and many others. The contract with Caproni included the licensed production of 3 of its military standard aircraft that were given new designations by Sabca for future export customers. The Ca.135 medium bomber was to be built and redesignated as the Sabca S.45 bis. The Ca.310 reconnaissance aircraft that was to be renamed the S.46, and the Ca.312 light bomber and reconnaissance aircraft that was to be renamed as the Sabca S.48. If you look at the list, you might notice that the S.47 designation is missing, and that is the second part of the agreement Sabca made with Caproni. In 1937, the Belgian Aeronautique Militaire was looking for a replacement for the 2-seat versions of the Fairey Fox in the fighter and reconnaissance role that by that time had become obsolete, and Caproni was asked to develop a replacement. Designing the new aircraft was Caproni's chief designer Cesare Pallavicino, who already had developed various successful aircraft in the past for Breda and went to work for Caproni in 1935. The new aircraft was to be based on one of his earlier designs, the Caproni AP-1 attack aircraft, that was first flown in 1934, and 3 prototypes and 54 production aircraft were built for the Italian Air Force. The result was the Caproni Ca.335 Maestrale, or Mistral, which in French means northwestern wind. It was a 2-seat, single-engine fighter, light bomber and reconnaissance aircraft. It was to have a 2-man crew, a pilot and an observer/rear gunner, the latter sitting in a greenhouse-like cabin in the back of the fuselage, which also had a second set of controls in case the pilot became incapacitated. The aircraft was very similar in appearance to the British Fairey Fox. Both aircraft were designed and built in a similar configuration. It was a low-wing, cantilever monoplane of mixed construction. The fuselage was made of metal skin and steel tubing, and the wings were made of wooden fabric. It measured 10.61 meters in length and had a wingspan of 13.20 meters. It was powered by a Hispano-Suiza 12 YCRS liquid-cooled V12 engine, producing 860 horsepower, powering a 3-blade constant-speed propeller, giving it a top speed of 501 km per hour. In terms of firepower, it was armed with a single Hispano-Suiza HS-404 20mm cannon firing through the propeller hub, and 3 FN Browning 7.62mm machine guns, 1 in each wing and 1 in the rear observer cabin. Its bomb load wasn't all that impressive, only 2 50-kilogram bombs in a small bomb bay in the fuselage, but a further 10 10-kilogram bombs could be mounted under the wings. The aircraft was complete at Caproni's factory at Ponte di San Pietro in Italy, and it made its first flight there on the 16th of February 1939. Then it was dismantled and shipped to Brussels by train. Upon arrival, it was transferred to Sabca's factory in Haren-Evere, where it was reassembled and flew again on September the 19th. By that time, the aircraft was painted in an overall olive color scheme, and Belgian military markings were applied, but for testing purposes, it received the civilian registration 00ATH. Initial testing continued successfully, and a license agreement was reached with Caproni, in which the Ca.335 was redesignated as the Sabca S.47. During demonstration flights for the military, the Belgian Aeronautique Militaire was impressed with the performance of the aircraft and wanted to place an order for an initial 24 aircraft. However, the production capacity at Sabca's factory was already maxed out, as the company was already building 41 Breguet 693s for the Belgian Aeronautique Militaire and the French Armée de l'Air, along with 10 Koolhoven FK-58s that were also destined for France, so the Belgian S.47 order had to be delayed. On the 14th of March 1940, the S.47 was flown to France together with Sabca's S.40 trainer, to be demonstrated to officers of the French Armée de l'Air who has shown interest in the aircraft. However, upon arriving at the French Flight Test Center at Orléans, the S.47 suffered damage after landing, when a strong crosswind blew the aircraft off the runway, after which it collided with a truck. By the time Germany invaded Belgium and France, the damage was not yet repaired, and the aircraft eventually ended up in German hands on the 13th of June 1940. Caproni had made several attempts to get the aircraft back from the German occupying forces, unfortunately to no avail. The unrepaired aircraft remained in Orléans in possession of the Germans until mid-1943, when it was eventually scrapped. And so ends the story of the Sabca S.47. A real pity, as on paper it seemed like a very capable and promising aircraft, and one could only imagine how it would have performed in combat if production had started before May 1940.